So, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's movie night hangout. And tonight we're going to discuss a movie called uh, what was it called? I just forgot it.
Eternal Sunshine in a Spotless Mind.
Yes, that's it. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And Maya, yeah, I have two participants here. It's Maya, and where are you located, Maya?
Hi everybody, I'm in Berkeley, California right now.
Welcome. And then we have Laura, and you are in Bogota, Colombia.
Yeah. Hi everyone in Bogota, Colombia.
Cool. Okay. So let's get going here. Maya, can you give me a short synopsis of the movie?
Yes, so first I want to say I love that movie. It was a great movie and done very well. So the movie starts with this couple, Joel and Clementine. They meet and you kind of see they're getting to know each other, and then the movie kind of cuts back to knowing that they actually had a relationship in the past, and it starts to reveal that they had a relationship, it didn't work out. She ended up going to a clinic and erasing all the memories of him because they broke up and she was heartbroken and she did it. And then he finds out and he does the same thing. And basically the entire movie is the process of him deleting the memory in this clinic, in this technology that they have. So the movie goes back into his mind, into the most recent memory, and back in time to the way how they met and how they started out. And that's the main, the storyline basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, when we talked about this movie, we sort of agreed on a topic. And Laura, what was that overarching theme? What would you say is that theme of this movie?
Well, the main theme, we said it's relationships and also memories. So it's relationships in how mostly we don't want to face the shit that we accumulate in relationships if we don't deal with the shit on time. So yeah, relationships and how we want to change who we are, change ourselves, as we see that they erase their memories.
Yeah. So when we talked about it, we also found that, here are these two people coming together, forming a relationship, and it ends up in, devastation. They actually want to delete each other from, their minds. So, I mean, it's interesting, though, that at one point in time, they were really in love with each other and attracted to each other. So, Maya, I mean, why are we attracted to each other if at the end of the day, or we come to hate each other? What is this attraction?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I think in this specific movie, what they're showing is a little of the opposites attract sort of thing. So Joel is very grounded, and Clementine is very happy and free, and he's kind of more introvert, kind of to himself. So in many ways, it looks like they are completely not compatible. But and the attraction, I think, goes to from the point of him seeing in her all these things that he's not expressing as himself. So it's almost like we're attracted to the opposite of who we believe ourselves to be. So she's an expression of freedom. She has different colored hair, and she's wild, and she drinks and all of that. And those are aspects of himself that he's not allowing himself to express. So we were talking about that. In a way, I think we're attracted to, like, from that form of attraction would be we're attracted to people that we can actually learn from, that aspect of ourselves that we believe we lack. And it's not in a conscious way, like we're not noticing that we're doing it. We just think that, oh my God, it kind of it takes us. It kind of, we're drawn to it, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, this point then, we walk through our lives trying to complete ourselves, finding someone that makes us happy. Laura, would you say that there is a way that we can sort of give those expressions to ourselves?
Yeah, because we tend to think that there's a perfect love, like the one who will complete us outside of ourselves, uh, instead of realizing that we are complete, we are here. And I'd say that that's the reason why many relationships fall, because we tend to see like there's something that's like we want to complete ourselves outside of ourselves, and then we see that this is not working because no one can complete ourselves. We can learn from each other, and that's the way, like seeing what we like from other people, seeing their expressions, seeing how they mm, created themselves as they are, you know, because um, there are certain aspects that we may like about some person, but we don't know even ourselves into completeness. So first we should, I think we should, and I can say that as a fact, that we should first know ourselves and create a relationship with ourselves, uh, to really get to know other people, instead of seeing them as an idea in our minds. So that, I would say, is the solution, like giving that which we like from other people through introspecting ourselves, through self-intimacy first, you know, like before running into a relationship.
Oops. You want me to?
Thank you. It's not that much.
But yeah, my father.
Yeah, okay, but Laura, you mentioned this creation process, you know, creating yourself. You know that it's not so smart to go out there trying to find all these puzzle pieces and build yourself. But Maya, how would you actually do that then? You know, what does it mean to create yourself?
Well, I think in regards to relationship, I think it's seeing, first of all, seeing who you are in the moment, seeing what comes up, whether it's an attraction or an aversion. So like Laura said, there's aspects that we like about each other, and then we get to see that. We see that we're attracted, so we get to see that. And then there's aspects that we're kind of, we want to reject. And so I would say the way into completion through relationship from that perspective would be in recognizing that, like you said, Laura, we have everything in us, right? We're a whole, but we're kind of, we've separated ourselves. Like we don't see it, we don't see. So the points that I'm attracted to would be points for me to discover in myself, to learn from my partner, my environment, like children, you know, when children naturally learn from their environment because they don't believe that, oh, I'm closed minded and unhappy, so I can't learn that. They just naturally learn. So if we could naturally learn from our environment, that's what which we're attracted to, we would expand in that way. And the parts that we're averse to and the parts that we're rejecting in others is a point for us to look inside and see, oh, these are parts that I have shame around or judgment around or fear around within myself. So it's a point of allowing myself to expand also into like the dark side of me and accept myself in that perspective, and from seeing and allowing myself to admit that's who I am, then we would go through a process of forgiveness if necessary, which is necessary. But I think relationship, that's what's beautiful about relationship, is that you get to see a mirror of yourself whether you like it or not. So whether it's something you're attracted to and find it beautiful, or something that you think is disgusting and bad, you get to see both aspects of that in you and actually become whole through that mirror that your partner or surroundings represent.
Oh. So I mean here, this mirror principle, and it's something that we use often and reference often to in Destiny. And it's because, you know, our world and the people in it, everything we feel and experience and think, is not really about them out there. It's actually about ourselves and, you know, how we have created ourselves within. And that is, as you said, Maya, why it's so cool to be in a relationship, that it's something you can utilize to really get to know yourself.
Yeah.
So, Laura, now when we've talked a little bit about attraction, would you say that attraction as the experience thereof is an effective foundation of a relationship?
Well, I'd say that it's preferable to first get to know the person for real, like, as I said, not only centering our first attraction, like in the point that we liked of that attracts us, but getting to speak with the other person, giving us time, seeing how can we work with each other, how can we support ourselves, meaning how can a relationship be effective and not only like you know, like projecting what we would like in another person to live, because attraction is like, as we said, like the missing piece that we are looking for, but we're actually looking for self-intimacy. So we are attracted to this energy that we experience, like in the beginning when we meet someone, like there's like these things that we like of ourselves when we are with that person, for example, or the things that we see lacking of ourselves, like, well, going to the movie, for example, yeah, Clementine was very, very like happy, and Joel was more grounded, and so these opposites, well, in the beginning it was this attraction, and like in the connection of a relationship, there's like this intercourse of energy, like with sex, for example. It's like connecting with each other in a point of in an aspect where we should complete ourselves. So I'd say that it's like first getting to see how can it be effective, a relationship. Yeah.
So I mean, you would say compatibility is an important aspect.
Yes.
Do you agree with that, Maya?
Oh yeah, I think I completely agree, and in many cases the attraction, very much like Laura said, is a small aspect of this other person that we're kind of hooking on, and we're neglecting the entire person. So we create an idea about them based on our past experience, based on our desires or our fantasies, that we want them to fulfill that part, and we're basically like cutting a big chunk of who they are. And again, that's what we do to ourselves. We don't allow ourselves to see the entirety of who we are, and we don't allow ourselves to actually develop self-intimacy, and that's reflected in our relationships, where we're, you know, pulled by this attraction, and we only want to see that aspect of the person. We don't want to see the other sides, the totality of them. So, what was the question?
Well, you answered it. It was, do you agree with Laura
Yeah.
about this point of compatibility? But it's great. And I mean, I've also seen that in my life, that the way I, tended to create relationships was that I saw one aspect of the person. I thought the person was funny, or had this playful expression, and then I was mesmerized by that and decided to go into a relationship, not taking into consideration that a person is not but one aspect, but there are actually, they have their entire history that you have to take into consideration. And important here is then compatibility, but we'll get more into that later, how to create a functioning relationship. So we have.
I think I just like to add to that, in a way, the level that we allow ourselves to see ourselves, it will be the level that we allow ourselves to see the other person. And it just goes like, it's again, relationships are great feedback to see where you're at. So the level that I allow myself to actually see my partner in all the aspects, both the ones that I'm attracted to and both the ones that I kind of naturally don't want to see. So the level that I allow that to open is reflecting the level that I allow myself to open, I believe. So it can be like a back and forth investigation,
Yeah. So we have a question from Marlon here, and she asks, have you faced a similar situation as Joel and Clementine did, where they both want to erase their memories of a past relationship? And if so, how have you dealt with it, considering there is no lacuna place in reality? Laura, what do you say?
Yes, I have been through that. Not only one time, but many times. And I think it's because we as human beings tend to repeat the patterns because of not dealing with them. And one time I was obsessed with this person, and I didn't want to let go of the idea of wanting to have a relationship with this person. And then the way I dealt with it, because there was no lacuna place, was with alcohol and drugs, which is the way I see that we humans kind of do. And I see that as a suppression, like in that way, we are only suppressing, because, again, if we enter into a new relationship, it repeats because we haven't seen what didn't work out. And with this person, I didn't saw the other aspects, like, why isn't this relationship working out? Like, because I had this idea in my mind that this relationship was where I wanted to be, not seeing that it was not supportive at all for me, and I didn't allow myself to see this person as a potential friend of mine. Like, yeah, it's amazing how we can enslave ourselves by not seeing the memories, the real facts, but only like what we liked about being in a relationship, like the good memories, like forgetting the bad memories, and in that way, like, just allowing memories to influence ourselves, and even changing memories to create just a platform where we go, like, to run away from reality, like.
Cool. Do you have anything to add, Maya?
Well, just the point of compatibility. I had a situation where I so wanted a relationship. I just wanted a relationship, And then I met this guy that we had some history and there was attraction, and I just put all my desire for relationship on him, and I completely blinded myself to all the points. Like, there were so many red flags. Like, it was like one big red flag, and everybody around me had clear view. Everybody saw there was a red flag, and they told me there was a red flag, and I was like, I don't care. I want to follow this desire, and I want to be in a relationship, and he's funny. That's enough. And it's not enough. And and I think and then you have to, you just end up living with the consequences, whatever it is. So you can't forget it or reverse what was done. You just have to, it's a physical process, like we were talking about writing earlier. It's just a physical process that you need to go one step at a time. Even if it's the small things, you need to go back to his house and take your toothbrush if you want it, or whatever, right? Like, you need to go back and actually physically do some actions if that's the situation. And also, like, in regards to compatibility, what I learned with him very much is that I don't think there's so much person that's right for you or not right for you, but there is the intention of the person. And if your intention is so very different, like if he really does, that was the situation. He was in no way interested in anything that has to do with what's very much a part of my life, which is a process, investigating myself, like trying to better myself, like working at this, looking at the world, looking at reality, kind of, and he was like, all he wanted to do was do drugs. And it was like, it could not have been a bigger red flag.
So it's interesting in here. Because what you're describing is then the situation where there is like this big red flag, but still you didn't see it then. So yeah. What is it within you that what is it within us that makes us not see those flags? And how, do you have any suggestion how we can actually learn to see them?
Well, I think Laura said it in the beginning. You want to slow down and get to know the person and actually see if practically you can share a life together. Like, if you have, it's like, it's the little and the big things. If you have a passion to move your life in a similar direction, then, like, for instance, if I want to be a top businesswoman and my partner wants to, live in a cave or in a farm, or just like, like super hippie and super businessy, maybe the lifestyle will clash. Like, yeah. Your one person is gonna either have to change or compromise, and if you go at it slower, I'm not motivated only by that desire. Like, for me, it was, I didn't have a relationship for a long time. I really wanted a relationship, and I just wanted to jump into it. Like, I didn't really care. So I just compromised everything, I just wanted to fill that gap that I felt. Yeah. So, and I think many people experience that because we live in society where everybody's expecting you to have a partner, and if you don't have a partner, you must feel very lonely. Like, that's part of what's being fed to us. Like, you're supposed to find love, and you're supposed to have a family, and so it's easy to get trapped into that and lose, like, what really matters, which is you're gonna be the one living that life. So you want to make sure that person makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd say also, like, not going to relationships basing it on imagination, because let's say we have this idea of what we want a relationship to be like in our imagination, and then that's only looking for to feel that energy that we have given to that. And I would also like to add to what you said, Maya, about the toothbrush. Sorry. When you take the things of the other person, how in the movie, when they have to go and erase the memories, they have to take all the objects that make them remember the partner, and then they place in front of them all these objects, and they have this like flashback, or the reaction popping up, and then this kind of the brain is taking the reaction and mapping how the relationship was. And it's interesting because then we create reactions out of relationships, like basing them on how we feel and how we experience ourselves, and yeah, like creating a database of memories of this relationship.
Cool. So we have another question, and it's from Andre Philippe Tenju. So it says, "Hi guys, what do you think? Why do you think that it is important to face the memories instead of assume that we forgot, suppressed our traumatic memories?" So Laura, could you answer that?
Yes, we have to face breath by breath in the relationship, because no one tells us that. We only go looking for the special feeling. But if we place the importance that breath has, like really seeing moment by moment who I am, so then there's no like a suppression point where like you are wanna see the questions.
Yeah, so I mean, why is it important that we face something instead of suppressing it? Maya, you can answer it while you look at the question, Laura.
Okay.
So the point of the memories, like, why do we want to face them? So again, if looking at the movie, what they did was delete them, and not realizing that, like, the way I see it is that the memory represents something that happened and how we reacted to it, and if we delete that, or suppress it, we're not actually looking at the pattern that created that memory to begin with. Like, why did we interpret the situation the way that we did, and why did we create the memory the way that we did? That seed is still going to be there to create basically that same memory. Like Laura was saying earlier, we kind of repeat ourselves over and over. So by erasing the memories or suppressing those situations, we're just opening the door to another loop of the same thing, because the seed, that who we are, that created it and to begin with, is not dealt with. It's still the same. So, I mean, actually having these memories is a great gift, because you can learn from them so much. Like, you can find the seed, you can recognize what you've done, you can change from knowing what you did, but you have to have the memory to look at. And if you delete it or suppress it, you're kind of promising yourself that you're going to live it again.
Yeah.
It's funny, exactly. In the movie, there was a short scene of a lady in the clinic sitting with pictures of her puppy. And I guess her puppy died, and she's super sad, and she wants to delete this entire experience that she had with her puppy because she can't handle the pain. And it's like spitting on life. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, yes, you had an awesome, beautiful experience with this puppy that was a great expression, and you loved each other, and it was, it was great. And now you're sad. So, it's just there's so many. I don't know. It was just like such a funny little scene in that movie of how ridiculous we are. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to express it. It was just so ridiculous.
Yeah, but I know what you mean, and it's because as members of Destiny, we recently had one of these, losses when Bernard died, and one of the points that came through there was that yes, I mean it's okay to be sad and to mourn, but it's also to realize that the memories we've had with this person, Bernard, they're not only memories, they're also, a sort of a book that we are able to learn from. And so that is a point that we tend to miss, that when we lose someone, it's just, oh my God, it's gone, everything is gone, not realizing that that person had actually been in our lives for quite some time, and we had walked a process with them and developed ourselves and learned from them. And I mean that opportunity is still there in the memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, Victor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned the open book. And I read one of his writings and about memory. It said that memory is like pages of the book, and so you can have this book for yourself to look at the memories. So they are like gifts. And with the process, with self-forgiveness and self-honesty, we can see the pages that are like dirty pages, and like where the things that we hide from others and that we are ashamed of, and we can clean those pages through this process. So it would have been amazing, let's say, for Clementine and Joel to, instead of erasing the memories, seeing that they are actually a gift, and that as you mentioned, Bernard was like an open book, and she sorry, he's like opening the internet, and he's like his writings are still here, support. So yeah, it's like, it's not a suppressed memory. it's here, very alive.
Yeah, so cool point there with seeing how Clementine and Joel could actually learn something if they had kept their memories, and if they would have had the opportunity to use the tools of self-forgiveness, of writing, to walk through and really learn how they created their relationship. And I mean, in relation to this, there was one fascinating scene when Clementine and Joel was lying in the bed together, and Clementine was approaching Joel and said something like, why don't you share with me? I share everything of myself with you, but you never share. And then he said, constantly speaking is not the same as communicating. And it was like such a moment is very fine and subtle, but it can actually, one little moment like that, where you express some sort of spite, such as the case of Joel, that it actually ripples out, and if you accumulate sufficiently many of such compromising moments, you do, at the end, create the consequence of a breakup or something like that. So Maya, is this something you have been able to see for yourself, this point of accumulating small moments with these compromising points that in the end become something bigger?
Well, actually, also what you said about talking is not communicating, I can relate to both points because I find that, and it's interesting, this point just opened up for me, but it's challenge for me to say to deliver the point of communication in a very clear and precise way. I usually will hide it in the midst of thing that I actually do, like Clementine did, and that remark is very true, because it's like you're diluting your communication with a lot of extra verbal junk. So that's one thing that's actually an interesting point to look at. And it goes again with the point of compromise, because again, in a relationship, if you can't deliver kind of the how you see things, if you can't give feedback because you're afraid of conflict or because whatever it is, and you end up compromising yourself over and over and over again, then you're hurting the intimacy, the potential intimacy, and you're hurting yourself really, and you're also hurting the other person because you're not delivering the feedback that may be a good, something good for them to hear and maybe explore. So it's really compromising everybody in the relationship if you can't be direct and honest as to how you see what's happening,
Yeah.
Kind of giving feedback to each other.
Important the way we give feedback to each other, because in the movie, for example, the accumulation of backchats, I'd say, was extensive to the point where Joel was like judging Clementine because she was drunk, and he was giving her feedback of, hey, you're drinking a lot, but the way he was saying it was really yeah, he was like not considering his words and how his words would affect Clementine, and so that also is important. That's also important.
Yeah. So now we have talked about relationships, what not to do. Can you then give a suggestion of how do you actually create a relationship that is functional and effective?
Yes. Well, we can look at our memories if we are already in a relationship, or if we want to enter into a relationship, we already have a database of relationships, and see what hasn't worked out very well, like what should we change about ourselves, and like the relationship failed because he was boring. Oh, but that's a projection, because one is the one thinking about that, about the other person. So it's like taking the points back to self instead of blaming, because when we blame, we just don't want to see ourselves. So, like, writing is very supportive, and that's also what we in Desteni support ourselves to do. And writing these memories and seeing like what didn't work out, how was I that, how did the relationship fail, because like I'm part of this relationship,
Yeah. So seeing your own, what you did, or who you were in the creation process. What would you say, Maya?
So the question is, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what do you see is important in terms of creating a functional and effective relationship?
Yeah, so definitely the point of taking responsibility and looking at what am I bringing in rather than just blaming, which is a very autopilot, easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And also, like again, supporting the other like you would support yourself if you were to support yourself. So, and so like you said about Joel, it's not about he was giving her good feedback, but he was giving it. He was spiteful about it, and he was in reaction when he was giving it. So, and it's a learning process. So being in that learning environment, and kind of coming to an agreement with your partner that we're not gonna accept anything less of ourselves with each other, right? So you come to an agreement, and in that agreement you can share feedback, and then it's about accepting the feedback and talking about it, and then just having this open communication to actually allow these points to come up and to realize that I mean, it's not an easy process. We've never learned to actually have intimacy, and we've never really learned to support each other, and we've never really learned to support ourselves. So kind of taking it again like children and realizing that there's gonna be some growing pains, but if it's again that intention, if you're willing to go through it, if you really want to take responsibility, and if your partner wants to take responsibility, if you want to kind of be free of all this bullshit, and if your partner wants to be free, if you actually want to develop intimacy and connection, then you're both willing to play, and then you can start playing, and it would be as difficult as it is, right? But so giving each other feedback, opening up, sharing, like points of shame or points of resentment or points of judgment, writing. I mean, definitely you have to also take the process for yourself. Like it can't only be an external relationship thing. So it's like you each have to walk alone and you walk together.
Thanks, Maya. So, I mean, what you're sharing here is the basics of how to create cool and functional relationships, and it's something that is actually offered in a course by Desteni called the Agreement Course, and you are able to find information about it on the Desteni website. And as you said, Maya, it's also important to walk your own personal process, because that will impact greatly on the relationship. And in that sense, the Desteni I Process, or the Desteni I Process Lite, which is a free course offered by Desteni, is something that I would recommend taking in consideration and walking for yourself. So, I mean, yeah, so the time is up here, but do you have any last words you'd like to put in before we end today's hangout?
No, nothing. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. How about you, Lara?
Yes, that we can change from being reactive beings to being directive in our decisions, the decisions that we take, and creating supportive relationships where we can communicate openly and where we can live what we want to live, instead of what we have now in relationships, which is just like, I don't feel happy anymore, I will go into another relationship, and I will forget the other person with a heavy night of drunk.
Yeah, that's not fun. So, I mean, if you want to have fun, then I recommend walking Desteni courses, because it's real fun. Yeah, so bye everyone. Next week we'll be back with another movie, and Joanna will be hosting that. So bye, and thank you for participating.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.